I was watching a video today from God, Family, and Guns. He is a school teacher and a minister out west. I'll put the link to his video down below. You can like, favorite, subscribe, all the bullshit. He was talking about how sick he is of all the politicians talking about, they use the school shooting or the mass shooting as their excuse to demand more gun control and as a prescription for their failures of the inner city and shit. And he pointed out how bad Cory Booker is as mayor of Newark, now senator, presidential candidate. And in fact, Newark is my father's hometown. In fact, he showed a clip in the video. I literally thought it was my grandmother's house. It wasn't. It was a different neighborhood. Okay, now, that got me thinking, and I was having this discussion a while ago. I don't know if I had it on YouTube, but I had it in several other forums. And I probably put a comment below, and I'm expanding on here. In my hometown, and I know for a fact someone's going to say to me, Vinny, in my hometown, my school chancellor, or whatever the fuck you want to call the guy, he makes $40,000 a year and works every year round, because they do, the school chancellors, school superintendents, and he had to give up his own salary. He had to give a week's salary in order to pay for books. Or okay, there's probably a lot of school districts that are poor in this country. There probably are. Now, in my hometown, my principal of my high school became assistant superintendent after I graduated. And I predicted years ago when I was a kid he was going to be superintendent of schools one day. And what happened was his assistant superintendent of schools, which is the underling of the superintendent, obviously, Doy. And we had a problem. This is going back to the aughts, okay? The 2000 aughts. The school superintendent, the head guy, was making about $250,000 a year. And like a lot of city officials, he had his own car. And there was a point in my hometown's history where we had more city-owned cars than New York City, even though we're a fraction of the size, like a twelfth of the size. The city-owned car means the big shot, the head guy, the chancellor of this, or the secretary of that, or the director of that gets a car funded by the city. And they pick out their own car. And they don't pick out a Toyota Camry or Ford Escort, okay? They pick out like the fucking Jagunda Lincoln Navigator or some shit, okay? There was a gas shortage a while ago. I mean, these big Jagunda fucking SUVs. When I was in high school, I saw big cars. And I'm like, man, we're gonna have another gas shortage, like the 70s with the big cars in the 70s, cars in the 80s, okay? And they would have these luxury cars or big cars. We spent a lot of money on cars in my hometown. These are guys that have $180,000 a year salary appointed by the mayor, and they get a free car on top of that. True. And the rule was you're not allowed to drive. You're only allowed to drive that free car to home and work and back again, nowhere else. But they would take it on vacation with them and shit. They didn't listen to that. This is years ago. So the school superintendent is making about $250,000 a year. Plus he has full health care. Plus he has a car which a decade and a half ago was costing $900 a month. Plus, it was one of those 40 expeditions that was using about $40 worth of gas a week. Okay, and what happened was he even hired his niece's boyfriend. They gave him an appointed job, $100,000 a year salary, the day he graduated college. Okay, and he would go around to the PTA meetings and tell the parents, we're bankrupt, the city's bankrupt. And he was immediately replaced by my high school principal, who was moved from assistant superintendent to head superintendent. The alumni demanded it. My high school principal, he graduated a rival high school many years ago, became a teacher there, became principal, okay, came to my high school to be principal, okay, so he was a bigwig in the city for years. The PTA, alumni, everybody demanded he be put in charge. He was put in charge, and His first contract, he actually wrote out a $40,000 raise to save one teacher's job from being terminated. Okay? After that, he stopped turning down his raises. By the time he left, he was making about $300,000 a year. And it was a couple years ago in February. It was at least 6 years ago in February. The mayor fired him. And not only did the mayor fire him, the school board was in such shambles, the mayor ordered that the school board be put directly under the control of the city hall. The school board, after that, couldn't wipe their fucking nose without asking the mayor's office for permission. And throughout my hometown's history, years ago, okay, it's getting better now, but in my hometown, we've had times where the superintendent of schools was making more money than the police commissioner or the fire commissioner. Now, the police commissioner's job is to control all crime in the city, which includes traffic enforcement. Even my job is controlled by the commissioner. The fire commissioner, in addition to fires, he also worries about car accidents, gas leaks, chemicals, flammable material, okay, sprinkler systems, fire exits, fire extinguishers, okay? Anything in the city related to fire code or building code or waste hazard, okay? The fire commissioner is responsible for that, because anything that could cause a fire or an explosion or a gas leak is his job. You ever go to the restaurant and it says maximum occupancy 200 people? That's the fire commissioner's job, not the police commissioner. Okay, so you got the fire commissioner and the police commissioner making decent money, pretty decent money, but they make less money than the superintendent of schools. And you can have a year where the city will have a 20% drop in crime and a 50% drop in fires, okay? And the schools would be in shambles. The school buildings were falling apart. Up until even a couple years ago, we had schools using old books. We had schools that, when I was in high school, not my high school, but other high schools, we had gang problems, drug problems, violence, weapons, okay? And no matter how bad shit got, whomever the superintendent was making over $100,000, in some cases close to $200,000, and a couple guys the past couple of years were making $300,000. That's one guy. It doesn't include the other staff, the principals. The Board of Education in my hometown is actually larger than every other city department combined. And for one guy making that much money, and here's what I was thinking. The fire commissioner and the police commissioner, they need a city-issued car because their city-issued cars have equipment in it. Radios, okay, scanners, stuff like that. Okay, sirens, and they're on call 24 hours a day no matter what. No one calls the superintendent of schools at 2 o'clock in the morning unless it's snowing. If it's snowing, they call the superintendent at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, you want to open or close the schools, okay? When the police commissioner or fire commissioner gets called at 2 o'clock in the morning in their house, it's because there's a real serious problem that has to be dealt with, whether they get up out of bed and go deal with it personally. Okay? Okay, it's very, very nasty if they have to deal with it. Okay, so you got, but why does the director of this, why does the leader of that, the secretary of that, why do these administrators need their own personal car when they're making $100,000, $150,000 a year? And like I said, things are under control now for the most part. They're getting back under control. A lot of schools are getting cleaned up now. Now, we talk about, the Parkland shooting and Andrew Meadow Pollack, Andrew Pollack, Meadow Pollack's father, wrote a book, which I hope to read. I want to get an audio copy if I can. And they talk about school safety. Even though God, Family, and Guns was talking about politicians exploiting children's deaths, it got me thinking. The school superintendent making $300,000 a year. And I don't know what they're making now, but the past couple guys are making a lot of money. I think it calmed down. I think the city started complaining about it. The people started complaining about it. If you were to take the superintendent of schools, $300,000 salary, and give him $100,000 salary, he's a taxpayer. He's a taxpaying. He's a servant. He's the taxpayer's servant. Okay, he's not a private executive. He's the taxpayer's servant. He serves them. Okay, if he wants to go to the private sector to make that much money, that's fine. But if he's going to be in the public service, he serves the people, the taxpayers. So why not give superintendents of school $100,000 a year salary, make them pay for their own car, make them pay for their own gas? And I calculated that according to that superintendent who was fired. No, my principal who became superintendent and was fired. Okay, if you do the calculations right, $300,000 salary for one person. Cut it down to a third. $100,000 salary. Make them buy their own car. Okay, we city employees have to buy our own cars all over the place. Here, there, everywhere. Buy our own cars. Okay, so why is it that guys that make more money than us get a free car? Okay, make them pay for their own car, their own expense. The only guy that needs a car is the police commissioner and the fire commissioner. They need their special car with their special stuff in it. That's it for their job. That's it. Okay, guys that work Monday through Friday, they don't need a special car for them. They don't. They buy their own car. Okay, now the gas. Okay, the last couple of superintendents years ago, they had a credit card from the city for their own gas, which is $40 a week at least, with their big SUVs they used to drive. Okay. If you, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys have this problem in your hometown, your city, whatever. And like I said, it is under control here now. It's getting under control because the parents were screaming about it. The parents in my hometown, they would tell the fucking board of ed or whatever problem they had. They would say, "Listen, my kid has an old book, or my kid can't get school supplies. Why is it that this guy is making this much money?" Okay, these teachers were laid off last year, and these teachers that are left have more students in their classrooms, but this guy is making that much money. And they started complaining about it. If you were to cap the salary of any school superintendent $100,000 a year, and you would make them pay for their own car, own gas, own insurance and stuff, car insurance, okay? My calculation under the old way here, my hometown would have saved about $321,000. No, I'm sorry, $231,000. Okay, and I'm sure that a lot of big cities have this problem. How many steel doors, how many bulletproof doors can you buy for $231,000? How many armed guards can you buy for $231,000? Okay, what people need to complain about is rather than talk about gun control and rather than let politicians rape your children's dead bodies to exploit for their narrative, okay? Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you talk about these massive salaries of these school boards? And the parents in my hometown, they complain about it. They complain about it vehemently. Okay, because they were noticing the quality of service declining in the schools, and some schools were falling apart. We had schools falling apart in my hometown. And the parents started complaining. This school's falling apart, yet the guy in charge is making a lot of money. Where's the repairs? Okay? That's what you need to complain about. In your hometown where you live, find out how much money your school chancellor or superintendent, or whatever you call him, find out how much money he makes. Now, if he's making $300,000 a year and he's telling you that they can't afford new books or they had to cancel the trip to the zoo because of lack of funding, okay, that's a problem. But the school security problem, we're talking about school security here, okay? How many bulletproof doors can you buy? A bulletproof door with a lock on it, can you buy for that much money? Now, obviously, you have to cut more than that, okay? You'd have to say, okay, the director of administrative bullshit has to have a cut too. Okay? Your hometown's mayor has to have a cut. The deputy mayor has to have a cut. Okay? The police, okay? All of your top dog officials have to have a cut. Maybe not the guy sitting now. Maybe the guy that replaces him when he retires. Okay, the next guy coming in. Okay, that got me thinking. And in my hometown, for the most part, the schools are a lot safer now than they were years ago. The schools are a lot more efficient than they were years ago. But it begs the question: if your hometown is noticing those problems, okay, you need to have your mayors or your city council members talk about that. What's more important, that this guy makes $200,000 a year, or there's a bulletproof door on one of the classrooms? I have no idea how much a bulletproof door costs. You got to talk to the companies about that, the security the companies that make it. But I guarantee you could buy a couple for $231,000. Okay, that's the main thing, and that's what got me thinking. I've been thinking this for a while now. Now, the stuff that I talk about in my city, the bad stuff, that's years ago. I'm not allowed to talk about a lot of political things in my city now. But the stuff I did talk about was 10, 12, 15 years ago. And we started putting a clamp on it. Now, do we hire armed guards? No. Several mayoral candidates over the past couple of years have proposed cops in schools or stuff like that. Okay, maybe that'll happen one day. Or a guard, maybe that'll happen one day. But we do have shooter drills, active shooter drills that are conducted with police, fire, medical, and school board staff. Okay, we have been trained for that response. It hasn't had to happen yet, but we have been training for that. And the issue is, if you can cut the cost of the big wigs at the top, you can save money at the bottom. And you can protect kids at the bottom. Okay? Maybe one armed guard in the school. Okay? Making $30,000 a year. He's a hell of a lot, because let's face it, God forbid a guy comes through your kid's door with a fucking gun. Okay? A $30,000 armed guard in that school is worth more than a school chancellor that makes $250,000 a year plus benefits. Okay? Thank you.